have so much winning if I get elected that you may get bored with winning.
Your Voice Radio. Your Voice Radio.
I humbly and gratefully accept your nomination for the presidency of the United States.
The silent majority is silent no more.
These are people who work hard but no longer have a voice. I am your voice.
Your Voice Radio. Your Voice Radio.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is Bill Mitchell with Your Voice Radio. Thank you for tuning in to our show tonight on rsbn.tv at 7 Eastern Time. And you can also catch the audio version of our show at 8 p.m. on Spreaker.com/user/Mitchell VII. Or if you are in the Cleveland area, you can listen to us on AM 1000 at 9 p.m. Eastern Time. So we're 7, 8, and 9, like that. If you miss the show live as we're recording it, this is the beauty of the internet. You can listen to it anytime. Just stream it. You can listen or watch the video if you're not driving your car. Don't watch the video if you're driving your car. I recommend against that. If you're not driving your car, watch the video anytime on rsbn.tv and their YouTube channel. And if you want to listen to the audio, you can just download it. Like when you're at the office, when you got Wi-Fi, go ahead and download it. It only takes a second or two. And then listen to it on your device in the car. And that way you don't burn up all of your data on your phone, which is kind of cool. But anyway, welcome to Your Voice Radio. It is Thursday, the 9th of February. The year is zipping on by. I can't believe it. Lots of great things happening. Of course, we had Jeff Sessions approved as the Attorney General. Thank God. Finally, an Attorney General who is less corrupt than the people they're prosecuting. It'll be a nice change of pace. I'm really excited about it. I tell you, that was the greatest oxymoron of the Obama administration, that literally the most corrupt person working in government was the Attorney General twice. You know, he had two Attorney Generals and they were both just absolutely awful. And we have Ginger McQueen with us this evening. She hails from just west of Chicago. We discovered her at the Deplorable and thought, man, she would make a great addition to the team. I was looking for a new co-host for Thursday night, and so here she is. She's become a regular. She writes for BeltwayTimes.com and does a great job there. And she's going to have a special segment tonight on Jeff Sessions for us. So how are you, Ginger?
I'm doing fantastic, and even better now that he's sworn in.
Yay! Awesome. We also have Joey Manarino. He is our snow bunny. Is that what you call him?
Yeah.
He's our snow guy. He's snowed in there in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. How many inches of snow do they have now?
Well, I haven't been outside to see, but I think about 5 from the window.
Really? A winter
It's really not much, so I don't know why we're making a big deal, but I'll go with it.
A global warming wonderland, yeah. It's great.
Yes.
I remember I lived in the mountain. There was a period of time in my life where I lived in the mountains of Virginia, and I was renovating a house that our family had bought. Mm-hmm. And we had a snowstorm where it snowed. I had what did I have at the time? A Volkswagen or something. Okay. And it was in the driveway. And it snowed like 3 feet in the mountains. Okay. And then it stayed cold. And then 2 days later, it snowed another 3 feet. It was so deep that I looked outside, and you know the bump where your car should be, there wasn't even a bump. It was buried so deep, there wasn't even a bump. It was just smooth snow. Literally, you could not open the door. We were landlocked for a week, couldn't move. It was just crazy. I died. It was horrible, but you know. Then I thawed out afterwards. Yeah. So, and heaven's nice, by the way. I've been there. You can look forward to it. It's gonna be awesome. So. Anyway, tonight we have a fantastic interview with Dr. Gina Lowden. She is one of my best friends out there in social media. She is also involved in traditional media. She does Fox News, she does CNN, she does MSNBC. I mean, she goes into the lion's den out there and has been advocating faithfully for Donald Trump. If you never have a chance to see her, definitely check her out on one of those news stations when she gets on. She's so bright and so well-spoken, and is just beautiful and talented, absolutely fantastic. She also has her own show called America Trends, which I will be on tonight, by the way. later on, and that is with U2, not U2, but U2, YOUTOO America, and they broadcast to about 32 million homes nationwide on cable, and also with Roku, Amazon, and others. And that's really a fantastic show that she has there. So she'll be on tonight as a guest. We have about a 25-minute interview. I think you're really going to enjoy that. So let's start off talking about Jeff Sessions. Now, if you followed me throughout the campaign cycle, you know that Jeff Sessions was always a big favorite of mine. You know, he speak softly but carry a big stick sort of guy. I really, really liked him. He was one of the first people that came out and backed Trump, took a big career risk on that, considered one of the most conservative people in the Senate. And this is one thing I said during the campaign trail. How can you say that Donald Trump is not a conservative when the most conservative guy in Congress backs him? You know, it's just amazing. And I would say, you know, Donald Trump is actually more conservative than Ronald Reagan because he's to the right of Reagan on immigration. Ronald Reagan passed amnesty, you know, and Trump is not for amnesty. So Trump has always been a very conservative guy, and Jeff Sessions believed that as well, and saw the future a little bit and backed him. As a matter of fact, for a long time, I thought Jeff Sessions was going to be the VP candidate. If you're absolutely dying to find something I was wrong about in the election cycle, that was it, because he wasn't, obviously. You know, I thought he was going to be the VP pick, but maybe that was wishful thinking on my part. He probably would have been great. I heard a rumor that maybe it was offered to him and he turned it down, but I don't know. Maybe I was just hoping to hear that, so I don't know if that's true or not. But anyway, let me read the little article about Jeff Sessions' win. It says, Senate confirms Jeff Sessions as Trump's Attorney General. 52-47, vote ends weeks of divisive battles. Senators confirmed President Donald Trump's Attorney General designate Jeff Sessions from Alabama, 52-41-1, with Senator Joseph Manchin, Democrat, West Virginia, crossing the aisle and the nominee himself voting present. He got a big job ahead of him, said Majority Leader Senator Mitch McConnell, and not made any easier by you, by the way, Mr. McConnell. Sorry, had to stick that in there. Who closed out the floor debate with a tribute to his friend Sessions and his wife Mary, as more than 60 former staffers and other supporters looked on from the gallery with the nominee's wife. Jeff Sessions, probably the most popular guy in Congress. Very popular guy. Everybody loves him. I think he's up to the task. McConnell said he's tough, but he's fair. He's persistent, but he's respectful. He's a likable guy, a principled colleague, an honest partner, and while we were really going to miss him, we couldn't be prouder of him. There was no drama on the Senate floor as the roll was called. Manchin had already voted with the GOP to close debate on Sessions, and there were no defections from the Republican side. The sad thing is that all those Democrats voted against him. You know, and here's a guy who's eminently qualified for this job, and they still voted against him anyway. So, well, and that leads me to a special segment that we're going to have our new co-host, Ginger McQueen, present, and she's going to talk to us. She did some deep research on Senator Sessions, and she's going to tell us all about him. So, Ginger, go right ahead.
Thank you. I am so impressed with Jeff Sessions, and he has just an amazing resume. For a Trump supporter, this is our ideal attorney general, because all of the things that we find important and the reasons that we voted for Trump are all positions that Jeff Sessions has held for a very, very long time. It's not like he just jumped on the bandwagon and said, yeah, hey, I think that too. He's been fighting for this for so long. There was, and I'll just to refresh everyone's memory, the Gang of Eight in 2013. Right. That was 8 senators who included some of our favorites, Lindsey Graham, John McCain, Marco Rubio, and Chuck Schumer. They put together a bill that was going to give 11 million people amnesty. And they projected that within 10 years, that number would balloon to 30 million. So once all of these people got green cards, they would be eligible for any kind of financial assistance that the government offers. We would be spending trillions of dollars in entitled benefits. It was insane. And who was out in front fighting this? It was Jeff Sessions. You know, and the problem is that we have so many people who tried to come here, and you have compassion for them. If I lived in a country where my conditions were not great, I would do the same thing. If there were no penalties, and all I had to do was get across the border, I'd do the same. You can't fault them for that. It's our fault for not having penalties. Right. And that's something that Sessions has said. We have to stop rewarding illegality.
Right.
But we have all of these people come here. They're not assimilating to the culture. You know, America is the melting pot, but you have to melt to get into the pot, and that's part of the problem. We have so many issues that would have stemmed from this Gang of Eight proposal, and thank goodness that he ended it. But the problems didn't end there. They've continued. You know, you have employers, they hire illegals because they don't have to pay them high wages.
Right.
They don't have to pay them benefits. You know, the employees, the illegal employees, are then able to send money back home.
Right.
So that's another form of foreign aid. Medical care. They go to hospitals or doctors. You can't be turned away if you can't pay. So they don't pay. And who winds up paying? We do.
Right.
It's unfortunate, you know, and this is something that touches me personally because my husband is a legal immigrant. He came here when he was 6 years old from Korea, and his family did it the right way. Mm-hmm. They got in line, paid tons of money, and waited years to do it. That's what makes me so angry about illegal immigration is these people just cross the border and do
Right.
whatever they want.
Right.
And it's not fair. So if I go to Great America and I jump the line, I get thrown out of the park.
Right.
If you come to America, if you come to not Great America, but if you come to America and
Yeah.
jump the line, nothing happens. There's no repercussions
You get
from
rewarded.
Yeah.
You get a season pass.
Lifetime pass.
Exactly.
Season pass. Front row seats at the Dolphin Show.
And every generation after you. So
Yeah.
by all means, come on.
Yeah.
But you know, we have so many issues, like with Kate Steinle and her killer in San Francisco. That guy had been deported 4 times and kept coming back. So, you know, that's one thing that Jeff Sessions has always been very strong on is getting some kind of fence up.
Right.
And he stated in 2013 that they voted to put up 700 miles of fence in the areas where it was most needed. They voted for it, had it approved, had the funding, and 30 miles of it was completed.
Unbelievable.
Wow.
Typical Congress move.
Thank you. Exactly. So, you know, another thing that he's been a big proponent of is an E-Verify system, which is a federal
Yes.
database where
We need
employers can go in and verify the status, the immigration status of a potential employee. Well, guess what? The ACLU continues to say that's racist. You can't do it.
Really?
So, yeah. So it's been fought. But that's one of the things that he truly believes in, and I hope that we get that. Another thing, moving on from immigration, is the kind of judiciary that Sessions wants. He wants non-activist judges who work on principle and that don't try to legislate from the bench, which is
Right.
exactly what we're seeing with these judges who are trying to stop Trump's executive orders.
Yes.
Sessions voted against all 3 of Obama's Supreme Court nominees. Another interesting thing about him is that he also cares for children. He's introduced bills to help protect missing children and in the proliferation of child pornography online. He's done some just fantastic things. And his motto is that he wants to grow the economy rather than grow the government, which is another big Trump thing that we're going to do. So one of the things that he's introduced is the Honest Budget Act. So he tried to make it so that Congress couldn't just go in and play with numbers and say, yeah, hey, we have a budget now. No, it had to be legitimate and in order for them to spend money. Of course, that wasn't passed. They don't know how to do that. But he's always tried to advocate to do the right thing. With Obamacare, he was always against it. And I thought that his reason for being against it was very interesting because he believes that it sets a precedent that the government can impose tax penalties
Yeah.
to force you to do something.
Mm-hmm.
So what else in the future could the government deem necessary and
Yeah.
punish you for not doing? And I had never really thought of it that way. So I found that very interesting. And, where does that end? There is definitely potential there for something similar to happen in the future, not just with healthcare, but with other things.
Right.
So Sessions is in favor of repealing and replacing Obamacare with something that promotes competition and gives consumers choices. So all of these things that Trump has been saying are things that Jeff Sessions has been saying for years and years and years.
Yeah, it's amazing. I tell you, and Trump has done so much without a cabinet. Once he gets his whole cabinet in place, and we have a fully operational battle station, as the movies say, I think people are going to be amazed. Joy, what's your reaction to having Sessions now as the Attorney General?
Well, I think it's great that it finally happened. This cabinet whole thing has been so delayed. It's been really unbelievable to see.
Yeah, the most in history.
And I think Sessions got a warm welcome. They showed the video of him arriving today, and everybody was really happy to see him there. And it's a great thing. He's a great guy. Like she just said, can't compare to what she just said, but he really is excellent. And I think he has a very soft demeanor, but by no means does that mean that he is a soft, bend over kind of guy.
Yeah,
he is very, very hard in his ways, and that's what we need.
Yeah, you can see that when he looks at the camera. He's just like this gentle man, but he's just got this total badass glint in his eyes. When he's concentrating, he's focusing. It's like, man, this is a tough guy, tough but fair, and that's what McConnell said about him, tough but fair. So we're very excited, Senator Sessions, to have you as the Attorney General. If we can ever get you on this show, love to have you. I don't know what the rules are on that, but love to have you on the show, absolutely. So, one of the things that's happening, all these things are moving ahead. And Trump has kind of been rope-a-doping the media a little bit. Oh, I can't get anything done. Nothing's moving ahead. And the media has all been, clapping their hands and stuff. And then after Trump says, well, I don't know, tax breaks, maybe another year, maybe two, Congress doesn't want to do anything. The next day, Trump comes out and says, oh, by the way, within 2 to 3 weeks, I'll be announcing a phenomenal tax package. Zing! This is what he does. He rope-a-dopes them, then he gets them all gleeful and stuff, and then he just nails them, and they're just kind of like, what? What's going on? So it said, Trump said, we're going to be announcing something, I would say, over the next 2 or 3 weeks that will be phenomenal. And when Donald Trump says phenomenal, he means phenomenal. President Trump, to his conservative critics, I read you loud and clear. On their show last night, we told Congress to get off their ass, and look, today Trump's announcing this clearly. We are guiding policy on this show. No, I'm just kidding. But it is nice that they hear us, right? So we're the grassroots. He said, after coming under criticism from many on the right, most prominently the Drudge Report, for seeming to move popular campaign promises like repealing Obamacare and reining in the tax code to the back burner, this morning Trump promised a phenomenal tax reform package that will be presented within 2 to 3 weeks. See, they do listen to us. It's important. Speaking to airline executives of the White House, Trump empathized with the burdensome regulatory comment the industry is operating under and promised to make reforms. He said, lowering the overall tax burden on American business is big league. That's coming along very well. Trump said, we're way ahead of schedule, I believe. And we're going to announce something, I would say, over the next 2 or 3 weeks that will be phenomenal. There likewise seems to be a renewed push for repealing Obamacare this year. Senator Tom Barrasso, who was one of the organizers of the efforts to craft a replacement package, said he's convinced Obamacare will be repealed this year. This is the exact opposite of what we were just hearing from the media 2 days ago. Like I said, Trump rope-a-dopes people. If you don't know what that means, during the days of Muhammad Ali, which I'm antiquated enough to remember, he would do this thing where he got into the corner and made it look like the other guy was beating him up, and it's called rope-a-doping. And what he'd do, he was just getting the other guy to punch himself out and wear himself out, covering up, blocking, not doing anything. The other guy would wear himself out for a round or two, and then Muhammad would come out fresh and just knock him out. And this is what Trump does. He rope-a-dopes the media. And then Barrasso says, we have a blueprint, a working document on ways to actually help try to deal with the terrible problems of the Obamacare healthcare law. There were 2 reports out this week. One is the people that have signed up are sicker, which means more expensive. That's one of the things driving costs up. Fewer people signed up for Obamacare this year than last year because they know it's not a good deal for them personally. So there's hope on that front too. So we all of a sudden went from hopelessness on Twitter about tax cuts and Obamacare yesterday. All of a sudden we're like 2 to 3 weeks on tax cuts. being announced, and Obamacare this year. So that's all real positive. Let's see. Oh, did you see this? That the Southwest border apprehensions are down sharply in January. Did you see that?
Wow.
Yeah. They say that according to preliminary Customs and Border Protection numbers for January obtained by CNN, but not yet released to the public, family unit apprehensions decreased by 42% in January.
Whoa.
Unaccompanied minors were down 39%, and total apprehensions decreased by 27%. What do you think, Joey? That's already people being afraid to
come.
come.
A testament to strength.
Yes.
There's no wall. There's no nothing yet. I mean, that's just Trump saying we're not taking it. And I think a few people said, okay, then we're not even going to try. That's great.
Yeah. This is what happens when you have a president that follows through on his promises and his threats that he makes. Because quite often, if they feel like you're going to follow through, it's like playing poker.
Yeah.
If you play with somebody and they usually have the cards, you're going to be much more likely to fold when they're bluffing than if they're always bluffing. If they're constantly bluffing and they never have the cards, you're not going to fold against their bluff. But if they have the cards time and time again, you're like, man, no, they probably got their hand. This person doesn't bluff, and Trump doesn't bluff. He's serious. And this is one of the things that people on the left have said, well, what happens when he passes this tariff that's going to kill business? And I've said all along, he doesn't have to pass the tariff. He just has to talk about it. And everybody will come to the table because they realize that he'll actually do it, and they don't want it. They get hurt more by it than we do. And so they'll come and negotiate before the tariff ever takes place. So merely the threat of the tariff is a thing that gets things done. And this is something that Obama couldn't do. Nobody believed anything that Obama ever threatened. What do you think, Ginger?
Oh, absolutely. And with the numbers of people who are trying to cross, one of the issues in the last quarter of 2016, there were 40,000 people caught trying to cross illegally, but the detention centers only hold 3,500.
Yeah. Wow.
Between the two in Texas. So we have a situation where they can't possibly house all of these families. So they're just doing the catch and release.
Yeah.
Well, part of the provisions of that executive order that Trump signed was that they're going to break ground and start building holding facilities. So they know he's not playing around. He's going to do this.
Right.
And I think that a lot of people underestimated him and thinking that he was like any other politician and that this wall wouldn't happen. I think that folks are starting to see that, it's going to happen and it's going to be amazing. So certainly that's deterring a lot of people from coming because they know they get here, they're going to be sent back, especially if they have a criminal record. So yay, go Trump.
Yeah, and Trump's DHS guy, Kelly, came out and said, there'll be parts of the wall that are going to be a wall, parts of the wall that'll be a fence. Well, you don't need a 30-foot wall on the side of a mountain somewhere,
Right.
I mean, a fence will do. So they're just being practical. And they said it's going to be built in stages, and it's going to be built primarily where we need it first, which would make sense. And here's the thing, is that under a Trump administration, you're going to have things done that make sense. That's going to be the new byline. It just makes sense. And this is opposed to, for instance, the Obama stimulus package at the beginning where they just basically threw $1 trillion at the economy and said, I hope this works. They literally would have been better off flying over major cities and dumping money out of helicopters to stimulate the economy.
That would have been nice.
Hey, sign me up.
It would have been better. Right. When and where? That would have been mine. Yeah. Let me get a bag. So anyway, well, folks, we have a great interview coming up with Dr. Gina Lowden. But before we play that, let's play a couple callers that we have. We always love our callers on Your Voice Radio. This is not Our Voice Radio. This is Your Voice Radio. So you get a chance to have your voice heard. And these are a couple former Democrats that turned Republican under Trump. So let's hear what they have to say.
Mr. Mitchell, hi. I'm a 58-year-old white male that is a union guy and was primarily left-leaning most of my life. This last election cycle and everything that went on with the media and everything else, the corruption and all the crap that went along with it, has converted me from a not really very political, slightly left-leaning guy to a hardcore politically very active right guy. I will never in my life ever vote for another Democrat again. I will vote Republican. I almost wish Trump had his own party, but that's something maybe down the road. But anyway, hopefully there are millions of people like me that are just so sick of the rioting and the protesting and all the, the socialistic bullshit of the regressives that midterms that will, it'll be interesting to see if they double down. They're doubling down after Trump won on their all their bullshit and their agenda, the media agenda and everything else. It'll be interesting to see if they get their asses handed to them again after the midterms, whether they even try and double down again or whether they finally kind of wake up and smell the coffee. But anyway, hopefully there are millions and millions of people out there like me that will never ever go back again. Moderates and previous Democrats that have crossed the line and will never go back. Because that's me for sure. Okay, like I said, and I am very politically active. I probably spend 5 hours a day on Twitter and other things, kind of reading what's going on in the world and stuff, which I never used to do. So anyway, that's my 2 cents, and hopefully they'll strengthen your resolve a little bit.
Very good, thank you. There are a couple bleepers in there, but you know what? Sometimes that's the best word to describe what he's talking about. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to bleep those out because that's really what it is. It comes down to it. Okay. Sometimes, I don't like people that just randomly use profanity, but sometimes, you just need the best adjective to describe it, and that was it. So next we have Kathleen, and she also was a Democrat switcher. Let's hear what she has to say.
Hi, this is Kathleen in Oklahoma City, Oklahoma, and me and my family, we are just so proud of President Trump, and it has been a miracle, just all the things that he has done, and I'm so thankful that he is doing everything he told us that he would do. I have, my husband is Hispanic, and he voted for Trump when people are saying, "Oh, Trump's racist" and stuff. He saw all the stuff that was going on at his job and how illegal immigrants were taking his jobs, and he has turned around from being a Democrat to a Republican just because of Trump. We're just so proud, and we love listening to you, Bill, on Your Voice Radio. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Kathleen. I tell you what, this is why Trump won. Crossover Democrats.
Yeah.
People. A lot of the Democrats, like the first caller, the guy that was in the union, are not really hardcore liberals. They were just their parents were Democrats, and their parents were Democrats, and they always wanted America to be great again. They thought the Democrats was the way, and once they really started looking at it hard, they realized, wait, this isn't the way at all. And they came over to Trump, not because Trump was some sort of conservative ideologue, but because he just was a guy that they thought could get results. Because he's gotten results.
And if he was a conservative ideologue, they wouldn't have come.
They wouldn't have. So Trump was the perfect candidate for the time, and that's why he's president, right? So next we have our wonderful interview with Dr. Gina Lowden, one of my best friends in the world. She's absolutely wonderful. A big star on TV and radio. She subs for Hannity on his radio show sometimes, and she's on Fox News, on MSNBC. She goes in the lion's den. When you have all those liberals on a panel and one conservative, she's that conservative sometimes, and she's tough. She comes out of there a winner. So let's just jump right into this interview. Co-host, remember to mute your mics because people can hear any sounds during the interview. So here we go. Folks, this evening I am very excited to bring to you one of my good friends in social media and in media. Her name is Dr. Gina Lowden. She is currently the host of America Trends on YouTube America. She is an anchor, she's a columnist, a show host, and a frequent news commentator. As a matter of fact, she's been on Fox News, Fox Business, CNN, C-SPAN, and MSNBC, commentating on the issues of the day, including politics, psychology, body language, business, special needs adoption, and women's issues. She has written for Breitbart, FoxNews.com, townhall.com, and WND.com, and she was named one of the 10 hottest women in new media and also top 50 best conservative columnists. Wow. It is truly amazing. Dr. Gina, welcome to Your Voice Radio. How are you today?
I am honored to be on with you today. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Thank you. This has been an amazing journey for us. Dr. Gina and I connected early in the campaign when we were out there advocating for Trump, and everybody was telling us that we were out of our minds, that he had no chance, and we just couldn't be shaken off. We just stuck with it, and I'll be damned if we didn't end up being right in the end. And it's just really fantastic. So, Dr. Gina, can you tell us how your journey to being a Trump supporter began?
Well, I was a longtime Ted Cruz supporter. My husband, my business partners, and most of my friends were all committed to that campaign. And I was about an inch away from being committed to that campaign, honestly, when Donald Trump made his announcement. We all remember it, on the escalator. And I had met him in passing a few times, you know, interpersonally, maybe wasn't my cup of tea, honestly. And I felt like I had a great in with Ted Cruz. I knew him well. I knew a lot of the candidates well. I'd interviewed them many times. So this probably wasn't going to be my pick until I had this epiphany, honestly, where I realized, from what I know, my husband was a state senator in Missouri, and I know how politics works, and I know the kind of money it takes to actually win an office. And I know what a candidate has to give up to get that money.
Yes.
And I know where the money comes from. It comes from lobbyists, and it comes from other politicians saying you can have the money, opening the watershed for you, essentially. And it comes from the establishment within the party, all of whom I've been battling most of my political life. I knew that by the time Ted Cruz, no matter how great he was, by the time he could actually get to be the nominee, he would not be recognizable in terms of his own morals and values and the things that I liked about Ted Cruz. And I knew that Donald Trump didn't have to be dependent on those things, and that I thought he could be elected.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, he could stand up and not have to sell out to make it financially. And it really was amazing. When I first saw him come down in that escalator and he first announced, you know, it was something that I had wanted for a long time. You know, it seemed like campaign after campaign, he would tease that he was going to be the guy, and then he wouldn't. I was like, ugh. And then when I heard this time, Trump is going to run, I'm like, yeah, right. I've heard that before. And I've already trying to decide who I was going to, you know, pick in the group besides him. And then I was in the kitchen, and I overheard the TV in the next room, and they're like, yeah, Donald Trump is announcing he's going to run. I was just like, really? I thought they were punking me. And yet he was. And I was on the train right away because I'd always wanted to give a business person a chance to run the country. It's just a simple idea. Somebody that is accustomed to making a profit, somebody that's accustomed to satisfying the shareholders, somebody who is used to actually finishing something. And most politicians don't ever finish anything because they're trying to perpetuate their own existence. So that's what really excited me about him. What was it about Trump that really motivated you the most at the first?
I think when he started, you know, talking about things that really bother me that were outside of business, I think I trusted his business acumen from the very beginning. But when he started talking about things like the troubles we have here in San Diego on the border, I have friends who've lost loved ones due to that. So to me, that's not a social issue. When he talked about his personal experience, honestly, on the life issue, that he had been pro-choice, but he'd had a personal experience that changed him. I liked that he seemed to have a lot of life, it's sort of tucked away. And I really honestly believed, Bill, and I still believe this, that he has the pulse of the American people like no president I've ever known. I would say even far and above President Reagan, who still in some ways was owned by some of those particular people because he had to be reelected. I don't see Trump ever being dependent on them. I see him making some concessions that are probably smart and strategic because that's what he does. He negotiates. But I don't see him having to compromise what he actually believes or what he actually told the voters he would do for re-election. And I think that's what I saw in him from the very beginning. I also happen to really appreciate the human part of him, the part of him that isn't the perfect packaged plastic politician. And I think that he makes the same kinds of mistakes that we make, you and me and Joe Sixpack down the road, every single day of his life. And I came to appreciate that part of him.
Yeah. To me, it's actually better that he makes these mistakes. They're not in our personal lives. We wouldn't consider those mistakes. We would consider those just being human. But when you're running for president, they parse every single word. I mean, I could say something stupid this afternoon and nobody would know. Trump says something that's a little bit maybe not as well spoken as possible, and it's on the evening news for hours. So it's just a whole different thing. You're living your life under a microscope. And one of the things that impressed me the most about Trump was his bravery. That here's a guy who's a multi-billionaire that for the last 40 years, basically everybody has just said, yes, sir, Mr. Trump. No, sir, Mr. Trump. Whatever you want, Mr. Trump. And he was willing to walk away from that seat of power and sacrifice himself to the media dogs, where they could just attack him on a daily basis. And nobody saw that better than you, because you actually sat, on Fox News, on CNN, on MSNBC, where you were that one conservative on the panel sometimes, and you stood up for Trump. And actually, you were an official advocate for Trump, weren't you?
Yeah, I was an actual official media surrogate, and ultimately even became a national delegate for him at the Republican National Convention. Yeah. I sat one night and discussed him at great length with Corey Lewandowski and Sean Hannity and Hope Hicks and some other parts of his team. And I, they'd asked me to be a media surrogate. Yeah. I wanted to stay independent. I consider myself more independent. Right. I'm ready to turn on whoever is willing to thwart their commitments any day of the week if they're in the public eye. And so I had no loyalty. So I didn't know about being a media surrogate, but ultimately he seemed to stand so steadfastly behind the things that he said he was going to do. He seemed to be unmovable. And the great part, Bill, is that now we even see that almost in a contagious way within the Republican ranks. I've been so frustrated with the Republican establishment for so long, but look what they did just recently. When forgive me, Elizabeth Warren was trying to make her case, of course, against Sessions, this was all theatrical. This was all staged. We all knew it. She knew exactly what she was doing. There was no impromptu there. And the Senate actually shut her down. When's the last time you saw the Republican Senate bill have any spinal cord? They don't. They got that from President Trump. It's amazing. May be the greatest victory we have yet to see.
Yeah, great leaders don't just lead, but they inspire their followers to lead as well. That's one of the signs. And I coined a new hashtag on Twitter. I called it Setism. I don't know if you read that or not, but this is the new political paradigm. Whereas because of Trump's leadership, formerly weak Republican leaders actually grow a set, and they they go out there and they start
standing up. It's so true. And we've never seen it before. And especially, Bill, the one place we really have never seen it, it was before you could look any politician in the eye and call them a racist. And they scattered like cockroaches, cowered like little cocktail shrimp. Bill, that's changed now. And I think that, like I said, it may be the biggest gain we have yet to see from a President Trump.
Yeah, it is remarkable. And it's so funny how he kind of rope-a-dopes people. For a couple of days there was all that, well, maybe we're going to have to put this off, maybe we're going to have to put that off, we don't know. And all of a sudden coming out today, people are, he comes out and he says, within 2 to 3 weeks, I'm going to have a major tax announcement for everybody. And then there are people coming out and said, oh yeah, we're going to have Obamacare done in a year. And this is what he does. He draws the media in, and he draws the liberals and the opponents in where they think they've got him, and all that they're doing is being drawn into range of his artillery. He's just rope-a-doping them in, and we see it over and over again, and they never get it. They never learn, and he just does it again, and he's just got to sit there in his big old chair in his office just kind of laughing to himself. He's like, man, this is easy compared to some of the sharks that I've dealt with in my business career. These guys, this is not hard. So, well, I have Ginger McQueen with me. She's one of my new co-hosts on Thursday night, and we actually discovered her at the Deplorable there in D.C. Something that Dr. Gina and I tried to meet there was just impossible because she had the nightmare of nightmares flight-wise. I mean, it was just crazy. There was a big storm.
Day from hell.
Day
I
from
never
hell.
tried so hard to get anywhere or paid so much to do nothing as I ended up doing, trying to get to the deplorable.
It was amazing.
But that's great that Ginger came out of that anyway, and it's great to meet you, Ginger.
Yeah, she's great. Ginger, did you have some questions for Dr. Gina?
I do. It is so nice to meet you. I've seen you on television so many times, so this is thrilling for me. But what advice do you give to women who want to succeed in modern media?
I think just be really who you are. Gain those life experiences too that you can talk about and build from. I want to put this carefully, but I know people who've tried to make it, and they try to climb really fast and they want it really badly. Rather than living their life, when you live your life, then you have experiences to talk about. And the things that you say are going to come from a place of genuine passion. And it looks more honest on screen. And audiences are smart. And they know if you're being authentic or if you're trying to talk about something that you don't really know or understand. Because anybody can memorize facts, right? And so I think that the most important thing is just to be true to who you are, try to gain those life experiences. You know, when you have that chance to go on that mission trip, or you have that chance to, go volunteer at a nursing home or whatever it is, always think that this might be something that God is throwing your way to make you a richer, better commentator, broadcaster, journalist, however you want to put it. But I think that life just provides women an extraordinary amount of opportunities right now. So just grab it by the tail and hold on tight.
Awesome. One more question. I've seen you on these panels, and I have to know, what is it like to go head to head with these liberals and walk away the winner? You must just love it.
I would say that I don't take a lot of glee in making anybody feel like they lost something. That's not my goal. My goal is for all of us to win. Another reason, by the way, why I like Donald Trump as a candidate, because he said that repeatedly. He wants even his enemies to be tired of winning. You know, that's a great concept. And I think if we all looked at life about from the perspective of pulling other people up with us, that's always my goal. When I go on some of these so-called enemy networks that people don't like to go on, I'm not going to say I enjoy the brutality, but I can tell you, as long as you are grounded in the place where you are, you understand your own experiences, you always hold out the possibility that you might be wrong. Be open to that idea, because once you get arrogant, I'm telling you, that's when it comes back to bite you, and it will take you down. Just the system itself will take you down. And so I think that just trying to build others up, trying to pull other people up with you, trying to bring people, I always think of it like this. If I knew that you were running as fast as you could toward a cliff, would I not do everything in my power to try and help you understand that there's a cliff ahead and you're running off of it? That's how I think of every liberal I encounter. It's not that I'm better than them or that they're stupid. It's that I understand something that they might not understand that I believe is dangerous for them. So my job is to help them understand it better, at least from my perspective, and to listen to them on the outside chance I got the map wrong and there is no cliff over there, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Wow, that's amazing. I tell you, Dr. Gina, you are more compassionate than I am. I can be a little rough on the liberals. I can be a little rough on the liberals.
With you out there in social media, watching you just go all in, and I love your perspective too, Bill. So both I think are important, but women are going to tend probably to come from maybe a little more compassionate perspective. God made us nurturers, and I'm proud of that fact.
Yeah. I don't think anybody would call me a nurturer on Twitter. I don't know what they would call me.
No. Well, you're a good friend, and that counts too.
What? I'm sorry?
You're a good friend, and that counts too.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Well, yeah, I tell you, it really, the Trump train has been an amazing thing over the last 18 months, because so many folks who are on Twitter right now, on social media, that voted for Trump were people that had never been engaged in politics before, because it just seemed boring and tedious to them. It was the same old thing. It was a uniparty. You couldn't tell the difference between Republicans, Democrats. They'd make all these promises and they'd get in and they'd all do the same old things. But Trump inspired them. When Trump came out and said, "I am your voice," he really spoke to them. wrote books about Maslow's hierarchy of needs and how important that is. And the highest need is self-actualization. Well, I think one of the reasons why Trump has done so well and people remain so dedicated to them is he became their self-actualization out there. They saw a little bit of themselves in him. And so when he took the slings and the arrows from the media, they were taking the slings and the arrows from the media, and they came to his defense. And this is where, during the election cycle, the Hillary campaign bragged that they had all these computer programs and all this information, and their ground game was based upon this, and therefore they couldn't be beaten. And I tweeted, well, Trump's ground game isn't on a computer program, it's in our hearts. And they made fun of me. They actually created coffee mugs with my picture and that quote on it, like, this guy's such an idiot, coffee mug, and sold these for $15 a piece without my permission, by the way. But anyway, making fun of me. And it turned out that was true, that Donald Trump tapped into our hearts. And the reason why his ground game was effective, not because of some list of people, not because of some computer program, because people believed in him in their hearts. And I think that's what is going to drive us going forward. So I wanted to round out the interview by asking you, what do you think the rest of Trump's first 100 days is going to look like? Do you think he's going to succeed? Do you think he's going to get, Congress, kicking and screaming across the finish line? What do you see happening?
Well, I think it's going to make some more great cabinet picks, and we've already seen that they're giving up on the other side. They realize they really have no power, and their screeching isn't working so well. Their old tricks, the playbook that the Democrats have used forever of just calling us all racist, sexist, homophobic bigots every time we cross them or disagree with them. That playbook isn't working anymore. Trump's rewritten the rules, and so they are in utter chaos. I see the Democrats losing. The more Hollywood comes out, the more entertainers come out to say that, Donald Trump is somehow this horrid person. All of a sudden, the Chicken Little theory isn't going to work anymore, because guess what? The sky isn't falling. I'm actually writing about this for FoxNews.com right now, and I'll be talking about it on Fox Business Monday morning. And it is this is the concept that America is in a state of emotional distress. The emotional distress is not caused by Donald Trump's policy. It is caused by these violent, threatening rioters that will stop at nothing, and they don't even know what they're fighting for, Bill. That perhaps is the scariest thing, because we call that mob mentality, as you well know. And I think that your point of self-actualization being our highest esteem need, according to Maslow's hierarchy of needs, not to get too wonkish on people, but I do think that is a great point, because the Democrats have made a grave error. All they want to talk about are the basic needs. They're called safety needs in Maslow's hierarchy, and they're way down there below.
That's like
self-actualization needs
stuff.
are.
That's like brainstem stuff. That's not higher thinking. Well,
it's animal thinking.
Yes.
And it's patronizing. And eventually the American population is going to catch on to how absolutely demeaning it is that the Democrats have been talking about safety needs while the Republicans are talking about self-actualization needs. And I think that eventually, even though people may not put it in the context that you so astutely do, I still think that basically, psychologically, we're all programmed to know that we can do better. And all you really have to do, and Trump has pointed to this so well, like no Republican politician ever has, he said, look at the inner cities that have been ruled by Democrats for decades. Show me one where people's standard of living has raised. You can't do it.
Right, exactly. Yeah, people, I tell you what, one of the things I've always said is you can measure happiness by what someone's life is like compared to what they expect it to be like. And this is one of the reasons why 73% of Americans were unhappy with the direction of the country under Obama, and then why this was a change election and the change candidate won, is that Americans expect to be special. We expect to be exceptional. We expect to be that light on the hill that the rest of the world looks to for guidance and for strength. And we weren't. America does not expect to lead from behind. And so there was a disconnect between what we expect we should be and what we were becoming. And this was creating great unhappiness. And I think that under the Trump administration and the Trump economy, this is going to change because, under Obama, 94% of all new jobs created were gig work, where part-time work, you don't get emotionally involved in part-time work. That's not a career. That's not a future. How do you buy a house? How do you buy a car? How do you plan for the future? How do you get married and have kids based on a part-time job? It could be gone tomorrow. But under the Trump economy, we're going back to supply and demand as opposed to government stimulus driving the economy. And then employers now are starting to see their employees not as overhead, but as assets that they need to invest in. Nobody wants to train an employee to go to work for some other company. They want to keep them. So to keep them, they offer a good salary, good packages, good benefits, all these sort of things to keep them on board. And now, instead of a gig economy, we go back to a career economy. And this is, once again, the self-actualization where you, instead of just going to work every day just to put food on the table and survive, you're going to work to build a career. And that career is a part of your self-actualization. So this is something at the micro level that is going to add up and really create tremendous national momentum for us. And this is something that, all these, hippie protesters and burning trees and tires and God knows what they're burning out there and breaking windows, they can't stop that. Because America doesn't see that as our self-actualization. We don't want to become that. We want to become something great. What do you think?
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you. I think even just things like you take just yesterday, right?
Yeah.
The Intel jobs that he's delivering. That's 3,000 high-tech jobs in Arizona.
Amazing.
That's $7 billion. But more than that, look at what those jobs are, Bill. Those are jobs that the product that Intel creates is mostly exported. So that means that those products are going to go to other countries,
right,
and change the way business has been done in America, because all we've really been doing well is importing, and then we've been taxed so badly on everything that Trump is changing all that. So you can't even really honestly measure the benefits of one of these transactions that I feel like I wake up to every morning with President Trump.
Yeah. Well, I believe in trickle-down economics. Democrats basically have trick-em-all economics. Their goal is just to trick everybody and to make us think they're working and using accounting tricks and that sort of thing. But I think we're going to see real growth. I think we're going to see people, running back into the marketplace where they're, wow, I can get a decent job. You're going to see college kids graduating and actually having a job out of school, as opposed to having hundreds of thousands of dollars of debt and living in their parents' basement and having no sense of a future. And, here's the thing, that Obama provided hope that things could change. Trump is providing hope because things are changing. And that's the big difference. And I think that's going to be the big difference going forward. And that's what's going to be the mark of this next 4 years. Dr. Gina Lowden, you don't have a bigger fan on the planet than me. I think you're absolutely wonderful. I love your show, America Trends. As a matter of fact, I'm going to be on your show tonight. I don't know if you knew that or not, but...
Woohoo!
Yay! Yeah, on U2 America. They are seen in 32 million homes nationwide. So I love being on your show. It's always fantastic. And see, Fox News, seeing you do battle out there, it always really encourages and motivates me. I'm glad that Ginger had a chance to meet you as well. She's always spoken highly of you. So
glad to meet her too.
Fantastic. How can people follow you on Twitter?
Sure, at Real Dr. Gina, or when Bill tweets me, and then I get a lot of follows from your wonderful audience out there. That is, I think, how I get most of my follows these days. Not I think, I know. Anyway, and that's really the best place, at Real Dr. Gina. You can find me there on Instagram or on Twitter and all over Facebook. I'm everywhere on social media. We don't have a choice, do we, Bill?
She's all over the place. Can't miss her. So fantastic. Well, Dr. Gina, thank you for coming on Your Voice Radio. I hope you'll come on again, maybe within the next 100 days, so that we can talk about what's going on.
It's a real honor to be on your show, Bill. I know we've been trying to work this out for a while, and I'm absolutely honored and humbled and thankful that you wanted me on. And I will make it happen anytime I can. Thanks for having me.
Fantastic. Okay, great. We'll talk to you soon, all right?
Sounds great. Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Bye, Ginger.
Bye.
All right. Wow, that was a great interview. Good job, Ginger. I was really proud of you there. You did a fantastic job. Joey, what'd you think of that interview?
It's a great interview. I watched Dr. Gina quite a bit, actually, on the TV, because I haven't shut off my mainstream news. I still watch it to see what they feed the masses.
Opposition research,
Yeah, you got to know. So she does a great job always putting the real good perspective out there. And everybody's perspective is real, but the perspective I prefer. So it was a great interview.
That's fantastic. Joey, I wanted to ask you, you are in touch with a lot of millennials. That's your crowd that you hang out with because, you're still a millennial. I'm a double millennial. You take a millennial times two, that's me. I'm a double millennial.
All right.
But anyway, what's the feeling out there? Are people hopeful about the job picture and are they being swayed by the media with all the crazy stuff? What do you think is happening out there?
People are really right now being swayed by the media. And as far as the job picture, people are hopeful, but they are saying that maybe because of Donald Trump, it won't be. Basically, anything that you could blame on anyone in the world,
right?
It's Donald Trump. If they stub their toe, somehow it's Trump's fault. So, I think maybe that will begin to change once they realize that things will improve. But right now, it's just, media, and they love the Young Turks and people like that who are alternative media, but also anti-Trump. I hope people start to give the man a chance in my age group.
Yeah. Well, they will eventually. Once
they will.
Changes. We have a lot of millennials that are big Trump supporters. You, for instance.
Yeah.
We have Josh Grimion, and we have Jack. Yeah.
And Scott Isbell, and there's tons. There's really tons. But I'm on the East Coast, so we're sort of in the liberal haven over here, and. What can you do? So, they'll give him a chance, and they don't even really know why they're opposing, so it's okay.
Yeah, it's funny. It's funny because millennials are different now than when I was coming up in age. When I was 22, to earn your name in the tribe, you had to go out and kill a mammoth, and this was.
Wow.
Well, if you were a warrior, but if you had artistic skills, it was cave painting that where you kind of became well known. So it's changed.
Now it's just who has the most followers. So you'd be a very popular millennial.
Right. Exactly. So cool. Okay. Fantastic. Well, Joey, how can people follow you on Twitter?
They can follow me at Real J Mannarino, MANNARINO.
Fantastic. And Ginger, how can people follow you?
At Ginger McQueen or at Beltway Times.
Beltway Times. And you write for Beltway Times. As a matter of fact, you wrote an article that was all this stuff about Sessions that you talked about today, right?
I did.
Okay.
Yeah, I found out a lot of great information about him, and it's just wonderful to see that his vision and Trump's vision have been in line for a long time.
And has that been posted on Beltway Times already?
It was, yes. You retweeted it.
I retweeted it. Okay, sorry. I retweet a lot of stuff. It's like... hard to keep track.
I know. It makes our day when you retweet.
Does it really?
You're like, I forgot.
Yeah.
It's funny. Getting a Bill Mitchell retweet is a highlight for everybody, even me.
Right?
I always tell people, if I give you a shout out or retweet, just go to your phone and turn off your notifications because it'll just become a steady beep for the next 3 hours.
Mm-hmm. But I've never had a shout out. I don't know.
I've never given you a shout out on Twitter?
No.
Folks, the first thing I do when the show is over is I'm going to go on Twitter and give Joey Mannarino. I'm sure I've given you a shout out. I'm going to give Joey Mannarino a shout out because he is deserving of it. Man, how could I overlook that? So you got to bug me. Squeaky wheel. You got to bug me sometimes. I keep track. So, okay, folks, this was another, I think, a great episode of Your Voice Radio. People always enjoy our show because it's smart, fun radio. If you're listening to us on rsbn.tv and you'd like your friends to hear about us, one of the easiest ways to do it is to just go over there to that little share arrow, that funny little curved arrow, and click on that and share us on Twitter and on Facebook. It'll do it automatically. It's just a couple clicks. You don't have to even type anything. And that'll bring more listeners to the show. And also, when you tune into rsbn.tv at 7 p.m. Eastern Time, you can join in the chat room, which is a lot of fun. And everybody's chatting back and forth and talking about everything and talking about the show, and it's just a really good interaction. So definitely do that. If you missed the video portion of the show at 7 p.m., you can also always stream it anytime after that. You can also catch our audio version at Spreaker.com/user/MitchellVII. And you can download it there. You can listen to the audio there. If you're busy doing something where you can't be visually engaged, like driving, for instance, you can still listen to us. And in Cleveland, you can catch us on AM 1000 at 9 p.m. Eastern time. You know, I keep being surprised that Cleveland is still Eastern time. I always thought it was Central time, but really, it's still Eastern time. Crazy, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, anyway, that's it. Also, we're trying to get as many folks as we can. Turns out to go to CPAC. Originally, I thought it was just going to be me, and now a bunch of different folks are like, I'm going. So we're trying to raise some money for that. And if you like the show and you want to support us, you can go to GoFundMe.com/YourVoiceRadio CPAC 2017 and donate whatever you like there. People have been very generous to us in the past, and we really appreciate that. So anyway, that's a wrap, folks. We're going to go ahead and play us out with a little Scott Isbell. Here we go.
I would build a great wall, and nobody builds walls better than me, believe me. Nobody would be tougher on ISIS than Donald Trump. But if I get elected president, I will bring it back bigger and better and stronger than ever before, and we will make America great again.
Scotty Isbell. Everybody keeps asking me how can I support Trump? What's wrong with me? The truth is there ain't nothing wrong.